Okay, so in this here video I'm going to show you how to set up mouth layers in Photoshop, import them into After Effects, and then set up a slider control that's going to control the mouth movements for your animation. Now, just to save time, I've actually created my mouths already in Photoshop and I've put them in separate layers. Okay. You've got to make sure while you're doing this that you do have a transparent background, otherwise when you bring it into your video layer, if it's white or black in the background, it will just cover everything. So once you have those, just save them out as a PSD. I've got there my mouth PSD. I've also got my Batman interrogation scene that I'm going to use, and that's basically it. So if I open up my After Effects file, you can see I've just set up a composition here. And I've dragged my Batman interrogation scene down to the timeline. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click up here and I'm going to import in file. So I'm just going to import in my mouth file. And the first thing you do is, before you open it, is not to import it as footage, but to import it as a composition. Okay? And then make sure layer options, make sure that it is an editable layer styles, and press OK. And then again, I can just drag these down to the bottom. I'll just put it above my video layer. So as you can see, I've got all my mouths in here, and it's kind of weird because they're all there at the same time, and that's not what we want to happen. So in my timeline here, I'm going to double click on my mouth layer, and you can see it opens up all the layers in a different tab. And the first thing that we really want to do is we want to bring all these down, and we basically want to have so that they're all at one frame each. So I'm going to grab the first one here, move it to one frame. Second one, just drag it along, so it's kind of doing the kind of like a staircase, and do that for every other frame in this composition. So there we have it. Now if I scrub across my timeline, you can see it's going through all the different layers that I have in that PSD file. So that's fine. We sorted that out. Now we can close that. Next thing that we want to do is we want to add a time, enable time remapping on that, because if you look at it, after it goes through those mouth layers now, it disappears. So what we want to do is we want to carry on that by kind of retiling the timing of it over and over again throughout our video. So we're just going to right click that, go to time, and enable time remapping. So all you have to do then is in your time remapping, grab this here key point and drag it along, and that will determine how long it lasts for. So after that there, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a null object. So we're going to right click here, go to new, null object, and I'm just going to right click that just to start off. I'm just going to rename it mouth control, just so we know what it is. So this here is a null object, has nothing in it. What we're going to do though is we're going to resize it so it just covers our mouth, and then we're going to use the whip from our mouth composition layer and drag it into our null mouth control. So now if I move the null object, it's going to control the movement of our mouth. What we're going to add to this control, our mouth control, is if I go to Effect and Expression Controls, we're going to add a slider control into that mouth control layer. So under the effects now you can see that it's got a slider control. Now that slider, what we want to do is we want to map that to our time remap here, so the slider controls the mouth movements. And to do that, all you have to do is hold down Alt and click on that stopwatch. You can see it pops down another whip, so we can drag that whip up into our slider control. And now if we go to our slider just here at the top, okay, if it's not there, you can just right click it and reveal an effects control and slide through. You can see, well, it's going very quick, but it's sliding through the mouth for us. So all we have to do is to kind of tinker with that is right click just that number under reset and edit value. So that slider range is going from 0 to 100. I know I've got 9 actual files in there. So what I'm going to do is, so it's going to go 0 to 0.9 for me. So now if I slide that across, you can see that it's a lot easier to work with. Okay, it's sliding through all the mouths just as I'd like them. So you can do that with the mouth, or if you need to add in eyes, you can do that with the eyes. The next part that you'd want to do is you'd want to basically map the movement of the head and translate that to the mouth so the mouth follow it. To do that, we're going to use the mouth control again, and we're going to use this Batman file. So we're going to first of all track the movement of the head. To do that, let's bring that down a second. We're going to use the track motion on the tracker tab. If that tab is not there, you can just go Window and turn on your tracker from here. So I'm going to track motion. You'll see that when I do that, it just opened up a new tab up here. Don't worry, your mouths are still there. And it's got a tracking point. I'm going to set that to the eye. And then I'm going to change a few options here. So the first option I'm going to change is, instead of adapt feature, I'm going to say stop tracking. And confidence 74% worked pretty well the last time for me. After that there, all you have to do is press analyze forward. So I'll just go to my very first frame and I'll analyze it forward. And you'll see it's tracking it pretty well, but after a while it will stop. So all we have to do is move our tracker point up again, analyze forward, and every time it does stop, we just bring it back to the eye and turn on the analyze forward. So it's done that for that scene, which is fine. So we're going to apply that to a target, but we want to edit the target first, and we want to move that instead of, if it's on mouse, okay, that composition there, you want to change that to your null object or whatever you call that null object. If it's mouth control or eye control, something like that, you press OK. And then once you've got your edit target and you've got your tracking data, all you have to do is click apply. Apply dimensions X and Y, that's okay, yeah. And your mouths will be tracked to it. Now, obviously there's a problem with this, where we're going to have to resize the mouths and move them. So what we want to do first is, we want to go to your mouth control there, go down the tabs until you see transform, and in position you'll see that it's got all these keyframes. So we want to just select all those. We want to resize this. Make sure that when you're moving it, you've got all these keyframes selected, so you're moving all these dots. You can see when I resize it, it deselects them, so I have to select them again and move it back over. So once we've got that sorted for the first frame, it should follow the rest of the animation for that camera shot. There is a part in this now where the Joker leans forward and the mouth kind of goes off the face. So we want to manually change that. To do that, we're going to keyframe the scale, and we're also going to manually change the position. So I'm just going to zoom into my timeline here, and I'm going to find the first place where I think it moves off. So frame 15 for me, so I'm just going to go to frame 14, the one before that, and I'm going to turn on the scale, and you can see it adds a new keyframe in there. I'm going to right click that one and set it to toggle hold keyframe, and then I'm going to find the place where the joker sits back again, back into his normal position, and I'm going to right click scale and I'm going to add another keyframe. So we've got two keyframes here, so everything before that is fine and everything after that is fine. It's this section in between here that we're going to have to work with, and the reason I put a keyframe at the start and at the end is nothing that I do in between here now will affect anything after this keyframe or affect anything before that keyframe. So it makes our job a little bit easier. So again, just going to click on this, and automatically it's going to set keyframes in here for us. So now his mouth no longer jumps off his face. After you're done with that, basically all you have to do is drag in your audio for the scene, and to move the mouth is very, very simple. So if I open my tab for my mouth control, you can see under effects, your slider, you can actually turn on the stopwatch here, and automatically now your slider control will set keyframes. Now again, the best thing to do with this is on your first keyframe that you set, right click it and set it to toggle hold keyframe. That will be more of an angular keyframe that we like that, or a square one. That means that if I set a keyframe here, instead of blended between these two keyframes, it's actually going to stay with that mouth shape until it meets a new keyframe, which is a lot easier to control.